Hey everyone, so I want to share with you the results of what I think is an incredible group of studies that has a practical implementation, which is that you can use your vision, literally how you look around, how you view the visual scene around you to access more creativity. So this comes from the Huberman Lab podcast episode that came out on Monday with Dr. Michael Platt. He's a neuroscientist from the University of Pennsylvania. And during that episode, he described one study in a group of studies that effectively goes like this. So one group plays connect the dots, literally connects dots that are bigger and more closely positioned to one another as compared to another group that plays connect the dots, but connects dots that are smaller and more distantly positioned from one another. Then everybody takes a kind of a Scrabble word construction type game where you get a bunch of letters and you have to construct words. And what they find is that people who connected dots that were smaller and more distantly positioned from one another can build words that are longer, that are more different from one another, and they have access to more knowledge of other types as well. Okay, so that comes from that experiment and other experiments like it. Now, at first blush, you'd say, well, how could this possibly be? Well, it turns out that how narrowly or how broadly you place your vision has a powerful impact on the amount of knowledge that you can access in your mind. There's a lot to say about this. I'll try and keep this brief, but as your levels of autonomic arousal go up, so as your levels of alertness or maybe even stress go up, your visual field actually narrows. And there are reasons related to the eyes why that's so, but it's also the case that the amount of knowledge that you can access when autonomic arousal goes up also decreases. Okay, you need to be alert enough to be conscious, but the amount of knowledge that you can access actually decreases. However, when you're relaxed but alert, the amount of knowledge that you can access is actually much broader. Okay, so this is knowledge that you already have in you. And what it means is that if you want to be creative, if you want to find new ways or new combinations of ways to implement strategies, as opposed to just taking one strategy and implementing it, which is what tends to happen when we're at high levels of autonomic arousal, we're trying to think of what's the effective strategy in this particular condition, versus when we're creative, we want to access lots of different strategies, maybe even come up with new strategies that we aren't even aware of. Well, then we need a broader knowledge set. And vision, it turns out, is the dominant way that we either constrict or expand our access to knowledge. So you can implement this simply by, if you want to be more creative, if you want to have access to more knowledge, before you sit down to write or to think or to do whatever it is that requires creativity, to paint, etc., play music, you would ideally view a horizon. Ideally, you would view a real horizon. It probably won't work if you try and do this on a computer screen, but when you view a horizon, your vision naturally goes into what's called panoramic mode. You can also do this indoors if you can't see a horizon. It doesn't work quite as well, but you do this by looking straight ahead. You don't move your head around, but you can relax your gaze so that you can see the corners of the room, the floor, the ceiling. I'm doing this right now, and everything around you, and the world takes on kind of a panoramic or almost spherical-like shape. Whereas when you narrow your focus, you bring it to a single fixation point, all right, what we call a vergence point, you actually restrict your amount of visual field. Okay, that's kind of an obvious one, but you also are restricting your cognitive knowledge. So I encourage you to play with this. Again, ideally, you would take a walk and view a horizon, you would be outside, then go do some creative work. Or you would narrow your focus to perhaps a target on the wall or tunnel vision. Literally, you might put on a hat and a hoodie and look narrowly through a small space and then go do some very narrow single strategy or two strategy implementation task. Okay, kind of plug and chug type work. The point here being that vision powerfully impacts the amount and the extent of knowledge that you are able to access within you. Okay, that episode covered a lot of other topics as well, the role of hormones in decision making, how we are unconsciously measuring the testosterone and estrogen levels of men and women outside of us, okay, based on things like the color and the tightness of their cheeks. There's some really interesting stuff discussed in that episode. You can access that episode by going to hubermanlab.com. It's timestamped. So I realize that our episodes that come out Monday are long. Those are the full-length episodes, but they're timestamped so you can navigate quickly to the topics most of interest to you. We also have our Thursday episodes, which are our Essentials episode, which are 30-minute episodes cut down from previous full-length releases. This week we had an Essentials episode about how to optimize testosterone and estrogen for men and for women using behavioral tools, supplement-based tools, and in some cases, prescription-based tools. Okay, you can find all of that at hubermanlab.com. It's linked out there in YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We're also full length on X. All of our episodes are available at zero cost at hubermanlab.com or through the standard portals of YouTube, Apple, Spotify, X, etc. If you have any questions for me about the topics discussed here or other questions, please put those in the comments section below this post. And as always, thank you for your interest in science.